There it is, broadcasting the boisterous part of the fastest game in the world. So strap on your lids and lace them up, Rook. If you didn't know, you're listening to the Bar Chirpers Hockey Podcast. Take a laugh. This is not the second time that I just did the intro, and it's okay. We're just out here having a good time, drinking Faygo and listening to rap rock music because that's what we do. We're juggalos, right? I'm not actually, but Justin might be. He's wearing his Juggalo ICP sweater, so I'm here for it.
It fits well. I decided to jump out of the box and not rock a team this week.
Hey,
it's cool merch. I like it.
It's good merch. I am rocking the Chelly, old Chelly number 7 with the C Blackhawks because we'll get to that. But of course, we're the Barn Chirpers. Chirp at us at Barn Chirpers Pod on Instagram and the threads. We'd appreciate that and do all the stuff. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to try to do 30 minutes. That's funny. I'm wearing my Chelly today because Chelly is getting his jersey retired this Sunday versus the Red Wings, and I will be there in attendance. So this will be a good time. And actually, it's going to be a pretty star-studded weekend because also on Sunday, when the Hawks play the Red Wings, it'll be Patty Kane's first time back in Chicago since leaving Chicago. Wow. So I'm sure they're going to have a little video tribute to him as well. So going to be exciting. Going to be exciting. I get to see the Blue Jackets play the Buffalo Sabres on Friday. So I'll be wearing my Tage sweater. And
battle of who can suck less.
Battle of who can have the worst game ever. But I did see, I sent it to you, Justin, on the Barn Chirpers Instagram at Barn Chirpers Pod. The guy who did Elvis Merzlikins' goalie mask. Mm-hmm. Oh my God. I loved that video. I literally spent 10 minutes watching this, but it was so cool seeing how this guy airbrushed his mask. So I'll be curious to see if Merzlikins plays on Friday so I can see his mask up close. That'd be cool. And then Saturday will be an afternoon matinee. The Red Wings taking on the St. Louis Blues. So, good star-studded hockey weekend upcoming.
Can I say this before we move on to the next thing?
Of course you can.
I gotta go homer here. Look, everybody knows I'm the homer of the two of us.
That's true.
I'm
true.
Very, very homer. But two of those games that you're going to see, I need the Wings to lose both of them because my beloved New Jersey Devils are rapidly falling out of contention. Yeah,
trying to get that wild card. Yeah,
we're 4 points back of the Wings and need that to happen. What kind of world is this? What kind of season is this? Where I'm hoping that the Blackhawks and the Blues beat the Wings. Not great.
Yeah. Well, I think the Blues are probably going to give the Wings a run for their money. They should probably beat the Blackhawks. But I don't know. Connor Bedard is back. That's the other thing why it's star-studded. It's because for a minute there, both Patty Kane and Bedard were injured. And I'm like, cool. I'm going on this road trip, this hockey barn trip, and the guys that I want to see aren't even going to be there. But they are back and healthy, so I'll be able to see them play as well, which is a good thing. The Blues could take that one on Saturday, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens, and then we'll talk about the barn trip next week, and I'll rank them and all that stuff. Yeah. Speaking of Columbus, Justin, when we left last week, nothing had happened really, but this week a lot of things happened. And in Columbus, they finally fire Jarmo Kekalainen as the GM. I mean, it literally only took 11 years. He was the longest tenured GM in the league. Literally one playoff round win in 2017 when they swept the Lightning, but literally nothing else. Absolutely nothing. So I'm so surprised that he stuck around this long in Columbus. Not only that, the whole hiring Mike Babcock, he should have been gone when they fired Babcock, truly, because he hired him. One positive note being he did draft well, and there's a lot of young players in the prospect pool for Columbus. So if they can find somebody to really manage this team better, you could see an upside. I mean, we're not talking about a playoff run or anything short of like 10 years from now, but they have a lot of prospects. So I'm curious to see how things go up through the deadline in a couple weeks. And thoughts on the Kekalainen firing?
Well, I believe you framed it as finally was what you put it. I don't know what happened that now is the time to do this. Like you said, it seems like this should have been done quite a while ago. I mean, we constantly want to be proved wrong on this show. And, the first thing I'm thinking in my head is who wants to go to, you say the Columbus Blue Jackets. Who the hell wants to go play in Columbus, Ohio? Who wants to go play hockey? I mean, apparently Johnny Gaudreau did, but
and Patrick Laine, I guess.
Also, but like,
and Sivo.
Well, he got dealt there. Like, I guess maybe he had to approve it, but like, and Provy decided to go there. So, I mean, they have people. So, maybe there is something there. Maybe between these people that we just mentioned and the pipeline, maybe they can build something there that is finally erases that thing off of my radar. This goes hand in hand with your roadie this weekend. Like,
I'm looking forward to see, what the crowd is like. There's
exactly.
been the other hockey podcasts I've been listening to, like Elliot Friedman's podcast and Frank Saravalli's podcast. They've been talking about this firing, and they've both said, and again, these are two different shows. They've both said that the Columbus fans, like they call them the fifth line in Columbus, that they're here for this team, and there's really no reason why. So I'm really excited and curious to see what it's like in the atmosphere for a home game.
So that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping God, this is why I wanted to go. I wish I could have made this happen, but I need to be proven wrong. Just like ad nauseum repeat. Sorry, but Nashville did it to me last year. They proved me wrong. We went. It was a great barn. It was a great time. I'm hoping that for you, for Columbus, and I'm hoping you can see what it is, why Columbus, Ohio has a team, and I'm hoping that this firing combined with that, hopefully Columbus gets a club on the ice that is worthy of their love, I guess is the point I'm trying to drive home.
I agree, and I hope that too. And then just a couple days after that, it was announced that Columbus Blue Jackets will host the 2025 Stadium Series at Ohio Stadium versus the Red Wings. It's a big Ohio Stadium is a big stadium, so there's going to be able to get a lot of people in there. I don't know that maybe in 2 years they have the pull to get all those people packed out. I mean, of course, the Red Wings fans have a big following, but I don't know, man. I mean, I don't have it off the top of my head, but I don't know how you're going to fill 70,000 seats.
It's 100, brother.
Is it 100? Oh boy.
Yeah.
How are you going to fill 100,000 seats? Truly. I mean, I would love to see it, but that's a lot of seats.
So when I was watching the Stadium Series game Saturday, Dev's Flyers, this is when Bettman announced that. He said, how can we top 2 days of 70,000? So Giant Stadium, or whatever they call it now, was 2 days, 70,000. And he's like, how can we top 70,000? He's like, well, we need to go somewhere that can accommodate 100. So, I mean, he may have been rounding up. So it may be something more like 90,000 or something.
Oh, no. 102,780. That is the capacity of Ohio Stadium. So, I mean, you know what? There's definitely, I would say you would get probably, if I'm looking at a lower end, 7,000 to 13,000 people that are just hockey fans that would come and buy a ticket, So you got that right there. Okay. I mean, just 100,000 seats is, that's a lot. It's a lot of seats, but I hope they can do it. I mean, there's still 2 years, so a lot can happen in 2 years. They could put on a good product on the ice. The Wings very well could be cup contenders again in 2 years. It's very possible.
It's just not a very sexy matchup. Like, what was it? 3 years ago was Nashville, Tampa, and I kind of scoffed at it initially, but like, you've got Tampa, you've got, proven cup contenders. This year, the Stadium Series, last year was weird because it's Caps Canes, so that's weird. But this year it's the 2-dayer. You got all the teams in the metro area. You got New York, and New Jersey, Philadelphia. Those are all that's interesting. I don't know what's interesting about Columbus and Detroit. Like you said, Detroit's on the up. And this year it's looking like, they can make a playoff push. They're in right now. But Columbus is not good. They have 2 seasons to get good. We just talked about them. They have the pieces. Can it come together? That's the question. It's just not a very sexy matchup. Other than this, I may pitch for us to go anyway, just cause.
Well, I think it's been said too, just on the Stadium Series and the outdoor games aren't really for the TV audience; they're for the live crowd to really enjoy. Mm-hmm. So I fully support that being there live is something special. So we get 2 years to save up our money, probably $500 tickets a piece.
I know,
so
right?
we have 2 years to start saving for that. Speaking of the Stadium Series, let's pivot here. I was going to save it for a little bit later, but as you said, the Stadium Series did happen this weekend. Your New Jersey Devils beat the Philadelphia Flyers. I assume you watched that game. I did not, but would you like to talk about it?
What a game.
Give your homer moment.
Yeah, I mean, and look, this wouldn't be a homer moment because I would have watched this anyway, but the Devs were in, so I had to. But Nico Hischier scores 38 seconds in. The Flyers are pesky, man. They are pesky, and they are officially, I think they've gone on record as saying they're not going to be buyers at the deadline. If anything, they're going to be sellers. So they're rolling the dice with what they got.
They're keeping the plan. Their game plan is the same as it was at the beginning of the season. They're building for the future.
So I mean, if they hold, then they're in the playoffs, and it's a shock. They're ahead of schedule. Cool. If they fall off the face of the planet, which I just don't see, man. Watching them play, the Devs were up, I think 4-1 at one point, and the Flyers just wouldn't give. They just wouldn't. They just kept playing hard. They're fast to pucks. Their transition game is insane. We haven't really dove into other than the not quit factor of the Flyers, but when you look at the X's and O's of what they do, it's just insane. I mean, there was a really gross play. Which player was it? Is TK on Brendan Smith, I think. A really gross play, the 2 tangle up, and immediately TK takes his stick to Brendan Smith's calf. I don't like that. Don't like that. I mean, apparently they have a little bit of a history, so I'm not gonna in our text chat thread, I kind of called it dirty, and it's not dirty, but given that there's a little history, I can understand the beef, how it could boil over a little. Apparently last year Brendan Smith kind of caught him with a reverse clothesline, for lack of a better term, on ice. So not a fan of that. They get in people's heads really well. So that's where I want to praise. It's crazy. The Devils win, and I'm here praising the Flyers. Because to me, that's what stuck out. The Devs got it done, and it was great. Dawes had a good game in net, but it was the Flyers show, and the Devils just managed to get the W. So, good game. I recommend if you can still watch it, Joe, do so. It was fun.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure it has a replay on the ESPN Plus. So I was going to tune into it at some point when I had the opportunity. The other Stadium Series game was New York versus New York. And, I did pop in for about a period. I did watch the first. It was about the halfway through the first and the second period. So I watched about a period and a half. And honestly, the Islanders looked pretty good. They really did. They were firmly in control of the game. And then much like the Islanders do, they blew it in the third, which is funny to me because that's just what the Islanders do, especially with the Vezina Trophy uh, top 5 goalies, maybe top 3 goalies currently active right now, and you continue to blow third period leads. Like, you trash. But a cool moment of the Stadium Series, this game that I thought. So Matt Remke of the New York Rangers gets his first ever game is a Stadium Series. So he gets to take his rookie lap on the Stadium Series. So that's pretty cool. And then also on his opening shift, he has a scrap with Matt Martin. So like that's pretty cool. Like, making a name for yourself. I hate to give props to to the Rangers, but that's a pretty cool moment in general. Also, he's a big dude. He's like 6'7", 240 pounds. So he's a big boy. So I gotta appreciate that. But yeah, again, as far as the game wise, Islanders blew it like they normally do. And both of those sweaters are trash. Chirp at me if you want to, but those are the worst sweaters ever. Like, just trash, absolute trash. New York, the Rangers, can you please do something else? I get it. You're an original 6 team. Do something else. Every one of your sweaters is crap, absolute trash. I love the Liberty jersey because it's something different. That's just me. Maybe I'm wrong, but everything else is just trash. NYR, Rangers diagonal, New York diagonal. Ugh. Gross.
I don't disagree. I feel like Philly got the short end of the stick. I feel like Philly's was the worst of the 4. And it was just because that nameplate was weird. I have the Rangers just above them because, again, how is that really any different from what you normally wear other than the NYR huge? Boring. Isles above them at 2. And then my Devils had the best sweater of the weekend. I don't care. They did.
It was different than what they normally have, so you can't disagree with that. Moving on, this is just a quick note for the Rangers. Again, do we really care? Not really, because we're not Rangers fans, but Blake Wheeler will miss the rest of the season due to injury. So stinks for him. I don't love that. I do like Blake Wheeler as a player. See him go down, that sucks. If the Rangers make a deep run, he may come back, but other than that, he's done for the season. So that stinks. And that brings up, what will the Rangers do now at the deadline? Actually, I kind of love this because if they were going to make a move at the deadline to bring in just one more piece to shore up everything to make that deep playoff run, well, now they have to bring in at least 2 pieces because they lost Blake Wheeler. So I love to see that because I don't like you, New York Rangers. I don't like you. Bye-bye. Maybe you get bounced in the first round.
Again. So I don't know if you saw this. I know because I have him on my fantasy team, but Bread is day to day. Like, so Bread is I don't know if he's going to miss a game or not, but he's officially, he went on, they moved him from healthy to day to day. So maybe he doesn't play Thursday. Maybe the Devils beat the Rangers, and that would be great.
Maybe. We were speaking of the Islanders, so I might as well touch on this. It was also announced that the New York Islanders are going to host the 2026 All-Star Game at UBS Arena in, I guess that's kind of in upstate New York, isn't it? Or it's on the island, right?
It's on the island. Yeah.
I forget the name of the city. Yeah, makes sense because they're the Islanders. So, yeah, something. But yeah, anyway, cool, I guess. Again, we've talked about our thoughts on the All-Star game, so whatever, 2026, it's a couple of years away, and who cares at this point? Moving on. So I had this in the I want to talk real quick about about Saturday. Saturday was a wild day in the NHL. I had this in the text thread, but dude, I watched 3 overtime games in the span of, about 30 minutes. First one I want to touch on, I was watching the Bees versus the Kings. And speaking again about a team blowing it, the Bees had a lead well into the third period. They blow it on a power play. So they go to overtime. And on the 3-on-3 in overtime, the kid for the Kings, Brant Clark, gets a penalty. And you could see on his face, he's like, oh my gosh. And then he's a rookie. He's like, oh my gosh, so dejected sitting in the box. Well, the Bruins can't score. And literally, when Brant Clark gets out of the box, he gets a breakaway and does a beautiful Mighty Ducks move, triple deke, and beats Allmark and wins the game in overtime for his first career goal. And I was literally like standing like, you have got to be kidding me. Did this really just happen? Because I don't like either team, right? I'm not a Bruins fan. I'm not a Kings fan. But I'm watching this as a hockey fan. I'm like, are you absolutely kidding me? You guys blew it. I turn over. I see the Stars and Oilers playing. Stars get a comeback tie on a power play in the final minute of the third. Matt Duchene scores in the power play. I'm like, okay, Dallas is running. They're going into they got the momentum. Going to overtime, 30 seconds in, they get a power play, the Oilers do, and they blow it. And again, I was like, are you kidding me? You just put the Oilers on the power play and you blew it. Way to go. And then I turn over and I see the Sabres blow Sabres come back to tie it 2-2. They go into overtime, and then they win about 90 seconds into overtime against the Wild. So it was a wild day on Saturday. And then the Panthers beat the Lightning 9-2, and the Maple Leafs beat the Ducks 9-2. So double 9-2 games on Saturday. It was a wild day on Saturday. I got to say, that's all I really have to say about Saturday. It was just wild.
We also kind of, since you're here, kind of touch on this. The Bruins are kind of looking like we thought they would right now. They've kind of really come down to earth. Florida's caught up to them. They had passed them, but Boston since regained the lead. But they had a sizable point lead on Florida before the All-Star break. And since the All-Star break, Boston's been looking very pedestrian and very beatable. And, I don't know if this is just, maybe they were just on adrenaline from last season and firing on all cylinders. And this is just the team that they are. We'll see. The next couple of games will really tell us, are the Bruins who they were in the first, or is this who they are? And do they, good Lord, completely fall off the face of the planet? I doubt it. Still a good team. But it's interesting to see. Again, we were wrong on the Bruins, but there's still a slight chance right now that we might be right about the Bruins, and we're gonna be finding out very soon, because like I said, they lost ground, and if they lose too much more ground, then where are they?
Exactly. I agree. And then moving on, Monday was also a crazy day in the NHL. Of course, it was a national holiday, I guess, whatever. But there's a lot of hockey games happening. So again, I'm watching the Bruins play the Stars, and the Bruins come back and tie the game, and they go into overtime, and then nothing happens. And this shootout between Swayman and Ottinger, it goes 9 rounds deep into a shootout. Both goalies are just stopping everything. And then it's just wild in itself. I've never seen a 9-round shootout before. Charlie McAvoy wins it for the Bruins, but that was interesting to me. I was like, holy crap, 9 rounds. Then I turn over, and the Canucks and the Wild, brother. Going into the third, the Canucks are up 5-3. Literally, not 10 minutes later, the Wild are now up 8-5. Pandemonium happening. The Wild end up winning this game 10-7, Justin. 10-7 against the Vancouver Canucks.
Crazy.
What? There was absolutely crazy. Oh my God. I forget who actually, I got to look at who. So there was a
3 different hat tricks.
3 different hat tricks. I want to. Jonas Brodin literally scored a 200-foot empty net. just literally behind the goalie line and empty netter. That was pretty cool. But yeah, like you said, there was three first time in an NHL game that 3 hat tricks were scored since 1992. The guys that did it on Monday, JT Miller, Joel Eriksson Ek, and my guy Kirill Kaprizov. And that's the first time it happened in a game since 1992. I'll give you a couple of old school names there, Justin. Yari Curry, Luke Robitaille, and Mike Donnelly was the last time that happened, to bring that back to the early 90s.
Good Lord, I hated Luke Robitaille. Good Lord, I hated that guy.
I think
don't know why.
Did. Yeah. I think even Luke Robitaille hated like Luke Robitaille. But so the speaking of hat tricks, I guess. Actually, I don't know where I was going with that. I had something else and I lost it, but that's okay. We're gonna recover here. Another thing that was crazy. This isn't really necessarily a stat, but the Oilers were playing the Yotes in Arizona, and there was a "Let's Go Oilers" chant at the Mullet Arena. It was so heartbreaking to me to hear that and to watch that. The Yotes were literally in control of the game heading into the third. They were up 3-2, and then all of a sudden Oilers score 4 unanswered goals in the third, and they win 6-3. Is like, dude, I we had high hopes for the Yotes, and I still do, but man, it's sure looking like all this other extra stuff is kind of hurting the squad, I think, and they are probably going to be sellers at the deadline, I would imagine. Yep. They're gonna get rid of all their UFAs, probably, because who's going to stick around if they don't know what the future of the club is, So that sucks, and it hurts my heart.
It does, because we've kind of been championing them all season, and again, to go from where we were when we saw Blink in DC last year to where we are with this club now, we're rooting for them, and I want maybe not a deep playoff push, but like to be in the conversation come playoff time was what I was hoping for, and they're just not getting it done. And unfortunately, like you said, it looks like they're going to be sellers. I can't imagine a reason they wouldn't be. And chances are that the club is probably gone. And it's really hard to sit with that. Weird. It's very weird.
Agreed. Yeah, it really is. It really is. That's what I was going to see. I knew I would bring it back. Speaking of hat tricks, the Winnipeg Jets played Calgary on Monday, and my guy Sean Monahan gets a natty hattie. And for all of you that don't know what a natural hat trick is, it's 3 consecutive goals. So there was no interruption of Sean Monahan scoring his 3 goals. That's a natural hat trick, scored all in a row. But Winnipeg ends up losing 6-3. So I don't know how that happened, because Hellebuck was in net too. So that just total destruction there. And also the last thing I want to touch on with, I said it in the group chat, on my fantasy squad on Monday, I had 17 points scored, 17, and I was a -3 for the whole squad. I just look at that and I look at those fantasy scores. I'm like, how in the absolute blank does this happen that there's 17 points scored and I'm a -3? The math ain't mathing for me. The math ain't mathing for me, Justin.
I hate.
Moving on to some, and I'm actually going to save this. We're going to talk about the PWHL in a second, but I'm going to save that one because I think that's a big news story. But Patty Kane hit his 800th assist over the weekend. That moves him to 33rd all time with 800 assists. And just to put it in perspective, Wayne Gretzky at number 1 has something like 1,900 something assists. And Sidney Crosby at number 12 or 14 has 970 or 917. So just to put it in perspective of like, Patty Kane hits 800, which is great, but there's a lot in between there. And the amount of points that like Gretzky scored in his career is crazy, right?
Mm-hmm. It sucks to stack anything up against the great one.
Oh, we must be on a delay. So I'm going to go ahead and take over. Another big story that I wanted to touch on before we get to the last big story in our stars of the week. But Jaromir Jagr, Mr. Mullet himself, gets his sweater finally retired in Pittsburgh over the weekend. And what I thought was really cool is he did practice with them on Friday and did like a little fan fest thing. He does his ceremony on Saturday before the game, and then he comes out and does warmies with them, and they all come out wearing mullets. And this is a great moment. I absolutely love this. Of course, the capital in me hates to praise the Penguins, but my gosh, I've been doing it the last few weeks with Sidney Crosby, loving on him. Growing up, I loved watching Jaromir Jagr, and dude, a guy like that getting his number retired is great to see. One of the greats of all time, for sure, especially in the era that he played in with so many other superstars. We just talked about it. Gretz, Mario, Sakic, Yzerman. The list goes on of Chelios, the amount of guys that were great players in his era and still to be able to do all the things that he did, absolutely amazing. So I love to see this. If I wasn't already on a barn tour this Friday, I was going to go to Pittsburgh to see this because I loved watching Jagr growing up.
Like you, I hate giving flowers to anybody who plays for Pittsburgh, but Jagr's just that dude. Like, again, there's nothing to dislike about Super Mario unless you're, a Devils fan or an opposing team. Like the further you get away from it, you realize. But Jagr went and played elsewhere, and you realize he came through New Jersey, and it's like, we got Jagr. Like this feels good. I love this. And the dude, like, what a dude. And like, he's still out there playing. Like he's still lacing
playing
them up. I love it. I love this dude, and I love that he's getting flowers, and I love that I love that moment. Like you said, I hate Pittsburgh. I love that moment. I thought that was classy. I thought it was cool. You love to see it.
Well, and I mean, even just this, I mean, he's in his 50s and he's still playing. He still plays for his hometown Czech club. I mean, he owns the club, but he's also still playing for them because he wants them to win. He wants them to be good, right? That's how much love he has for hockey. So just across the board as a hockey fan, you have to look at that like, oh my gosh, like this dude is a pretty great guy too, just across the board. And speaking of, both Frank Saravalli and Elliot Friedman, again, they're both NHL insiders if you don't know, but they've both mentioned this before. And it brought up a thought. It was an interesting thought that they had. So when Jagr left and he came back, he didn't sign with Pittsburgh because this isn't a direct quote or anything, but Jagr didn't see a spot for him on that squad. Crosby already had his line. Malkin had his line. Whoever else was there had their line. So he didn't really see a spot for him in Pittsburgh. And that's why he went and signed with Philly. And of course, when he came back to Pittsburgh, he got booed for it. But the thought that Friedman said was, think of all the guys when Jagr came back. He did short little stints, right? He played for a lot of teams, but he was kind of like a Jedi master in a way to young guys like Claude Giroux, Jamie Benn, Brad Marchand, Ovi, young in their careers. And like, you think about that, like, dang, a guy like Jagr did come onto those teams to make them better and to kind of show these guys the ropes or to give them talent to play with so that way they can reach their potential. And that in itself too is pretty awesome to me. I mean, you can look at it like, oh yeah, he played for like 8 different teams. He just went team to team. Like, yeah, but he was passing on, it's just like on the job training. Like this great player is passing on all this knowledge to other players that can, turn into something. And obviously all those names they did.
You know what it's like though? It's funny when you word it like that. It's like the passing of the torch in wrestling. It's like Hogan and Rock. Yeah. It's like Rock Cena. Like it's giving them the rub, brother. Dude, it doesn't happen enough anymore. And I hope that you just brought up Ovi. Like I hope that that they're going to be cleaning house of the old guys soon, so he can pass on whatever he's got to the young cats, the next wave of caps. The same thing for Sid the Kid. Sid the Kid strikes me as that type. I don't, maybe I'm projecting something onto him, but
for
he
sure.
seems like the type.
I think so.
But like these great players that are at the end of their career, that they don't have much left, but like, I hope they're passing it on. I hope they plan to pass it on, and we need that dearly. So the league can continue to get better, and earn the things that these great players have. Like, I don't know. I'm spinning off from my original thought, but I hope that those two guys specifically are going to do that.
Agreed. And speaking of Sidney Crosby, he scored his 406th even strength goal and passed Mario Lemieux for most in Penn's history. Also, that goal was his 9th career goal within 30 seconds of the game, which passed Bob Gainey for most all time, which is an interesting stat.
Wow. I mean, again, we're officially like Sid the Kid pod, but dude's still doing it. So
still doing it. And the biggest thing that I wanted to save and talk about was the PWHL. When Montreal played Toronto in Scotiabank Arena, they broke a previous record for attendance. And now the new attendance record for women's hockey is 19,285. Stick taps to the PWHL, and honestly to the fans that showed up to watch that game. Stick taps to you. We love to see it.
I know that sports leagues are like TV revenue driven. And it's the PWHL is unproven on television because right now it's pretty much mostly in Canadian markets. But people are showing up and they're excited about it. And every game I watch on YouTube, I've seen literally almost every. I think I've missed one. There's a good 6,000 to 10,000 people watching on YouTube, and that's YouTube. Like that's people want this. They want this to succeed, and I hope that the holdout of a TV deal here in the States doesn't become a detriment. I'm hoping that these numbers that we're seeing, these attendance numbers, these I believe earlier in the year, we said 2 million people watched. I think it was the opening game on TSN. I'm hoping that these numbers are projecting something. So how cool would it be to be able to pop on ESPN Plus and watch PWHL game, Joe? Like, how cool would that be?
Yeah, no, for sure it would. I mean, I think it's probably only a matter of time. I mean, again, it's a shortened season for PWHL. Maybe when we get to the off season and they can, try to negotiate something for their first full season next year. But I mean, you can watch Southern California at Tennessee Community College versus upstate New York by way of Ohio, Cleveland, Minnesota. That team play on ESPN Plus basket. Like, what I'm saying? Like, there's such a random game that you can watch all the time on ESPN Plus. So why couldn't we watch, or why couldn't they strike a deal for a professional sports team to be on ESPN? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So those are my thoughts on that.
I also think it's crazy kind of to expand upon your point, and I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but you can go on ESPN Plus on the weekend and you can watch National League Lacrosse, like the Professional Box Lacrosse Association. You can watch that. You can watch like D level college swimming. Like,
yeah. Yep.
I mean, it's cool. I love that that's available to me to watch. Sometimes I will, like, I was watching women's volleyball a couple months ago. Like, why not? Like, it was on. I'm just saying, like, if you take that same attitude and put it to WNBA, like I would so watch WNBA, the PWHL, make them available, and I guarantee you people will watch. It seems that simple. Anyway,
it's that simple. It's that simple. Let's move on to our stars of the week. I'm not going to say 3 because I think we'll probably just have a couple apiece. But our stars of the week, and I will say this: I'm taking a week off of chirping anybody for quote unquote superstar check-ins, because I tell you what, I do it all the time, and all these guys that I chirp, they've been scoring and putting up massive amounts of points. So I'm not going to do any chirping this week and see what happens. Because I mean, hey, should I take credit for it? I mean, probably not. It doesn't have anything to do with me, but maybe it does. Maybe it is my pushing the needle a little bit, pushing the needle forward. So I'm not going to do any chirping this week. But do you have a star you want to highlight this week, Justin?
So this is a guy I missed out on last week. I should have had this guy on my stars last week. He's unfortunately been injured, so technically he isn't a star of the week. He's just a dude who showed up this year. And he plays for the Vancouver Canucks, and it's not a name you see going around a lot. It's Dakota Joshua. And
I was just thinking that.
I picked him up in fantasy because he was a hitter. Like, we've talked ad nauseum how I like my forwards that hit. So like I scooped him up for that. I took some notes. I wrote down his stat line.
Nice.
13 goals, 13 assists for 26 points. That's solid. Joe, a plus 16. He's got a plus 16 on the ice and 195 hits. He contributes. And he was on a points tear. Like he was starting to score goals. Like he was doing well with points, and then he got hurt last week. So just a little love for Dakota Joshua. It's not a name you hear a lot, and he is contributing to a team that has taken the league by storm. So his name should be out there, Dakota Joshua.
I agree. That's a solid name. When you were saying what you were saying, I was like, I bet it's Dakota Joshua. So I've heard his name and seen his name up and around. So solid pick. I already talked about this guy, but it's Brandt Clark. And I don't remember if I said it when I was talking about him, but that was his first career goal too. So first career goal in overtime to win the game for the Kings. They made that comeback. They go into overtime. The kid gets a penalty. Looks like super dejected sitting there in the penalty box. Literally, I was thinking, oh, there goes your job, kid. Comes out of the box, a perfect pass that I don't remember who passed it to him. It definitely wasn't the guy who, I would chirp. It definitely wasn't him, but it was a perfect pass off the boards, comes out of the box, and just totally, in basketball terms, breaks the ankles of Linus Ullmark and scores the overtime winner for his first goal. Kid, you saved your spot on the squad. Good for you. And it was a highlight goal. And, so he's on the stars of the week, Brandt Clark.
So I'm going to go with a goalie here. And it's a goalie in the PWHL. By the way, goaltending in the PWHL is fantastic. Like, I had no idea, because I didn't know any of the names going in really, but I had no idea that they were going to be this good. But a name has really stuck out because when I think of Montreal, I usually think of Davienne. She's terrific. Elaine Shuley, who is the tandem tendy with Davienne, has a 961 save percentage, Joe. A 961. Wow. You love to see it. You'll love to see it. And, she plays every other game. So she's running tandem. But I don't know how she wasn't on my radar. I saw this number and I was like, yeah, like Montreal's got the tendies. So Davienne and Chuli specifically Elaine Chuli with her 961 save percentage.
Yeah, that's unheard of. Truly. Absolutely unheard of. So stick taps to her. Okay, I got to give you a homer move here, and it's Alex Ovechkin. He's got 8 goals in 8 games, plus 4 apples, 12 points. He's finally heating up. I mean, it's at the end of the season now at this point. So, like, whew, buddy, he took a while to get here. But the grade 8 is showing why he's the grade 8. He's now at 838 goals, which puts him 56 goals away from tying Wayne Gretzky's record of 894. If I did that math correctly, I think I did. Right? That's it. Yeah. Hold on. Wait. minus 894. Yeah, 56. Okay. So he's 56 away from tying the great one. And I bring that up because he just did an interview with a Russian, news site or whatever. And he said that when his contract is done in 25-26, he's done. He's retiring from the NHL. So we have about 20 some games left of this season, plus 82 in 2024, 2025. And barring any injuries, fingers crossed he's not, 24, 25. So 162, basically 180 some games, let's say, to score 56 goals. Justin, pass or shoot, Ovi will break the record.
Man, I mean, given that, like it seems like the easiest shoot ever. Like, because it's not even like
it seems that way, but
yeah.
let's remind everybody his production this year or lack thereof. This season he only has 16 goals, 25 assists, dash 16, 17 power play points, 178 shots on goal, and 102 hits. So
well, let's be generous and say he gets to 30 goals this year, right? Like that, I think that's a little generous based on his production, but he's on a heater. So, maybe he keeps finding the net and say he rounds out at 30. So that is what, 14 this year, which leaves, he's got to split 25 between the two seasons. It doesn't seem out of the question. I hear your point, but basically he's a couple heaters away from doing it. Like if he had, like, if Anaheim comes into DC on a night and Gibson isn't playing, Dostal's playing cold, and he rips a Hattie, like, I feel like I'm playing the odds and taking the shoot here because I think even 6 goals more, maybe I take the pass. I'm saying a lot of words to say I'm staying on shoot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously Ovi's my favorite player ever, so I think that he will do it, and he has plenty of a sample size to score 56. I mean, the only thing that I just don't want it to be like barely scraping by. I want him to break the record in typical Ovi fashion by scoring 40 goals a year, right? Like when he passes Gretz, I want that to be, so we're at the end of the season now. So, when he passes Gretzky, I want it to be his 40th of the year next year, right? And he's passing him or tying it. You know what I mean? Like I want it to be in typical Alex Ovechkin fashion. So I do think he will do it. I just want it to be like the goal scorer that he is when he does it. So I'm shooting.
So to read your temperature, it feels like he's limping along. You want him to get back to it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I said this a couple of weeks ago that why I was praising Sid so much, and you had asked me the question of, is it because Ovi's having such a bad year? And yeah, it's true. I mean, now that he's heating up, it's like, oh, great. I mean, I love to see that. That's the Ovi that we know. So continue that. It stinks that there's only about 20 games left of this year, right? So he could still, like you said, get to 30. It's possible. Probably, let's say maybe 25, 26. But I just want to see next year to go on that absolute heater that Ovi does. And when he matches the record, it's his 39th goal. And to beat the record is a 40-goal season again. That would be just absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
You got one more?
Oh, wait. Yeah. It's my turn. I'm going here, and this one actually is for her play this week. Her hat trick against New York versus Boston lifted Toronto to I think it was a 3-2 victory or 4-2 victory. Natalie Spooner. And I mean, she's not somebody who's not getting love, but she's on a team with Sarah Nurse and Renata Fast and Soupy. Like you could see where Natalie Spooner might kind of get lost in the shuffle. She's not playing like it. She's inarguably probably like the asset of that club. So Natalie Spooner, hats off to you.
Love to see it. Love to see it. I'll just say JT Miller for scoring a Hattie. JT Miller's a solid player. He kind of gets lost in that shuffle of on that great Canucks team. You know what I mean? I just don't think he gets mentioned a whole lot, even though he does a lot of great things for that squad. So JT Miller, he never gets talked about. So Hattie, hats off for you. Okay, so I guess with that said, that's about it. We're on a delay, so I'll just finish this out. So, everybody at Barn Trippers Pod, do the thing with the like and the subscribe and all that stuff, and we appreciate it. Next week, I will rank where Detroit, Columbus, and Chicago fall in the barn list, and I will put them against the previous barns as well.
Yeah, hold on. Before we go, we got a thing. I want to show it at the bottom. Joe's barn tour from last go round.
Oh, wow. Look at that. You got stats and everything.
Yeah. So again, just as a reminder, and then we'll go over it again next week. But these are the barns that Joe's already been to. Cap One, he gave a 14 out of 30. PNC was unscored. PPG got a 26 out of 30. Bridgestone got a 25 out of 30. Florida Live got a 25 out of 30, and Amelie got a 21 out of 30. So that's what is stacking up for next week.
Yeah, I do have to, with that, I'll have to go back to PNC and see a Canes game and actually tour the barn, because when I was there, I didn't tour the barn. So it wouldn't be fair to score PNC without actually touring the barn, because that is the barn tour. Go figure. So until next week, folks, stay safe out there, play to the whistle, and keep your head up. Stick taps and sellies, boys. Clap it up.
Weird one this week.